What was the guilty pleasure sexual encounter you enjoyed but would never tell the people close to you about? Not safe for work. Hooked up with a clown while she was still in her makeup and clown suit while her roommate was in her princess outfit about 3 foot away watching TV. But I've told everyone about it. User replies. I have to warn you, I'm a squirter. Proceeds to spray water out of her buttoned fake flower. User replies. Yes, I brought condoms. Proceeds to pull an endless string of condoms out of her sleeve. This was years ago. We met online, chatted for a couple hours, got into some sexual stuff, and then I suggested we meet at a local bar. She was around 40, and I was 25. Anyways, we had one drink, and she wanted to leave. Go out to my car, make out for a bit, and she says she's gonna take off and she'll call me later. I figured that was it and that I turned her off even though I did everything right. Get a text from her 5 minutes later with her address and telling me to come over and just let myself in. I head over, walk in, and she was on the couch with her ass up on the air, wearing nothing but knee-high socks and a blindfold. Earlier, when we were chatting, I told her I had a thing for knee-high socks, and she had a fantasy about getting fucked by a stranger that she was never able to do when she was married. She had recently divorced. We basically did every sexual thing you could do that evening. Never said a word for the next 2 to 3 hours. User replies. I now really want to do this. User replies. Don't let your dreams be dreams. I'll meet you at 8. User replies. Let your dreams be creams, homie. User replies. Put on this lederhosen and blindfold. Get ready for the weirdest 2 to 3 minutes of your life. Kept sucking while / after he came during a blowjob and he lost consciousness, he woke up quickly and was fine. It happened twice and I've never felt more powerful in my life. User replies. That's not normal given that it's happened more than once, he might want to get worked up by a DR, maybe even cardiologist. User replies. It's a long story but yes I made him see a doctor. Everything checked out fine, and it never happened again after those 2 times. But for several moments I was like, holy shit I made someone come so hard they passed out, and then reality kicks in and you've got to come up with a way to explain it to a doctor. Reading all these I have discovered, my life is apparently really dull. User replies. That's not always a bad thing. The grass is always greener on the other side. Senior year I gave my friend head at a sleepover while the other girls were asleep in the next room. She was complaining to me that nobody's ever gone down on her, and the solution was glaring us right in the face. As far as I know, neither of us ever told anyone in the group. We also never really brought it up again. User replies. I knew that this is what happened at girls' sleepovers in high school. Was this before or after the naked pillow fight? I came on a girl's face as her mom walked in the room. It was one of those thick, holding it in for days loads as well. User replies. Wow. What was the fallout on that one? User replies. She threw the phone at her daughter. Her grandmother was on the phone and wanted to say hi. I was kicked out, go figure, so didn't hear the blow up. Best 3.2-mile walk I've ever done back to campus. Matched with an ex-high school teacher on Tinder. She said it would be too awkward to go out with me but sent me a naked pic. Jerked off to it so many times. User replies. I ran into an old middle school teacher at a bar once. She had recently been divorced. I took my shot, but she wasn't having it. I had to try. User replies. I had a huge crush on my 7th grade social studies teacher. She got divorced after a while and I delivered a pizza to her house when I was 19. My heart started racing when she answered the door. Years of porn scenarios prepared me for this. She paid and said bye and I've never seen her again. User replies. Bro, when I used to deliver pizzas as a 20-year-old, a woman answered the door in just her towel. It was clear she had just stepped out of the shower. She just kept smiling and said, "Sorry. I know this is highly inappropriate," then she paused for a sec. I legitimately thought she'd offer to fuck. My heart was racing like crazy. She said, "I hope I didn't make it too weird." She just paid and closed the door. User replies. Can I borrow your towel? My car hit a water buffalo. User replies. I slept with my 8th grade science teacher just after I graduated HS. She had moved to my neighborhood sometime during my senior year. Every year right after school was out for the summer, we'd have a huge block party at the pool and the roads around it were shut down. We usually had about 500 to 600 people each year and growing. What started with chicken fights in the pool with her on my shoulders and going undefeated. She clung to my arm the rest of the evening, not one adult batted an eye at this, and ended back at her place. To this day I don't know if she recalled I was her student. I am pretty certain she knew, but I wasn't about to ruin our summer affair by mentioning it. User replies. How old was the teacher? You were 18 to 19. Starting with mounting up for chicken in the pool is pretty forward. She took off her panties, stuffed them inside herself, before slowly pulling them out and shoving them in my face and into my mouth, and held them there while she rode me into the sunset. It's not as wild as some, but it changed my world. User replies. Not wild? You said she legit stuffed it inside herself. Got my first blow job from a high school girlfriend under the blanket while her mom was working on the computer with her back to us on the other side of the room. I've been chasing that same mix of fear and excitement for the past 20 years. User replies. The mom knew. User replies. Yeah, these stories always crack me up. I banged my girlfriend in the passenger seat while my mom was driving in the seat next to us. We did our best to keep quiet so she wouldn't notice us. User replies. I got a blow job in the back seat of the car while my mom was driving. It was a night so it was dark, but looking back on it, she definitely knew. There's no way she didn't. User replies. My son has recently reached early puberty and I'm learning very quickly that my parents knew far more often than I thought when I was doing something stupid. User replies. Sometimes it's better to play ignorant. Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to. User replies. 45-minute showers. Kid doesn't even shampoo his hair. I am about to buy a bottle of Jergens and leave it in the bathroom. User replies. My parents used to tease me about my unreasonably long showers. Nope, I was just super depressed and didn't have my own room, so that's where I had my pre-scheduled crying sessions. In a previous relationship, my ex and I would do drug-fueled, amputee BDSM. He was not an amputee, he just enjoyed being tied up like he had no arms or legs. User replies. This is the best and worst thing I've ever read. When I was 23 I hooked up with a cute 38-year-old woman who I met in a bar. She was loads of fun and we had pretty great time considering I was wasted. In the morning she was a bit melancholy and cried a little as I held her. She said that she had always wanted to be a mother but had wasted all her best years on bad relationships that went nowhere and now it was very unlikely she'd meet someone in time to have kids. In a moment of naive madness I offered to come in her pussy without a condom and to my huge surprise she actually took me up on it. Before I could think twice about it she wrapped her legs around my butt and I came bucket loads. I think about her from time to time and wonder if I have a kid out there somewhere. Want to know the real kicker? I couldn't remember her name in the morning and I was too embarrassed to ask. No way of looking her up. So I guess I'll never know unless the kid comes knocking. User replies. LMAO. Out of all the comments in this post, this one took me by the most surprise. Goddamn dude, that is real madness. User replies. Someday in the near future he will get a call from a second or third cousin because someone popped up on their 23andMe family tree. User replies. Dude, something similar happened to me. About 15 years ago when I was in my early 20s, I was out with some friends at a pub. Lady and her husband sitting across from us get in a fight, he leaves. She's mid to late 30s. She comes and sits with us, starts to flirt with me. We leave, she gets us a hotel room and tells me she's not going home tonight. Young and dumb, I don't wrap it up. She asks me to finish in her and I do. She tells me she's not on birth control because her husband had a vasectomy. I panic a little, but she proceeds to get crazy turned on by it. She starts saying some of the dirtiest things a woman has still ever said to me. Again, I don't think with my brain, and we do it multiple times that night and a couple more in the morning. Each time I don't pull out. She takes my number, and all I have is her first name. She never gets in contact. I'm never able to find her. I honestly don't know if I have a kid out there somewhere. I think about it pretty regularly. Hooking up with my ex's aunt 2 years after we broke up, and I ran into her at a Jack in the Box. My cousin and I were just randomly looking for hangover food and just happened to decide on that Jack in the Box that day. I told him to head on home and I went with her to her motel. No regrets. I always thought she was sexy as hell and we never saw each other again after that. User replies. How did that go down? So you went to Jack in the Box hungover, and you're like, hey, you're what's her name's aunt, want to get a motel? User replies. She was kicked out of her mom's house and lost her job as an optometrist's assistant and became an escort. She had the motel already as she was living out of it. We spent about 30 minutes catching up and she invited me over. I used to be a pothead and so was she. Then I told her I knew where to get Molly, so we got some and things went from there. User replies. Damn, what a turn, optometrist assistant to escorting. We're halfway through. Enjoyed the stories so far? Let me know by hitting the like and subscribe button to help me grow. Enjoy the rest of the video. I paid for an escort at 19. Her name was Lulu Devine and she had like ridiculously large implants. We ended up going to Big Lots where I end up seeing my parents in the parking lot with her. My mom was mortified. User replies. Mom and Dad, this is Lulu. Lulu, this is my mom and dad. User replies. Yes, I know, son, Dad said. User replies. You took an escort to Big Lots? I'm laughing so hard but I don't understand why. User replies. Wait, you can't just skip an entire section of story. Why the fuck did you take a prostitute to Big Lots? User replies. Prostitutes like great deals too. I was 23, male, my boss was an attractive 40 female. She invited me and a few other co-workers over to watch a football game. I was the last to leave, until her husband pour some sugar on me, her top came off. My dick came out, we both fucked her senseless all night. We had threesomes a few times a week for months. It was amazing, I hope they are both still happy. User replies. What a lovely last sentence. Oh, I've got a few but. Fucking my high school bully's big brother in her basement was a highlight. Better, she and I had the same first name so I guaranteed I had made it awkward in that house for a bit. User replies. Oh man. I want to hear more, lol. User replies. So did everyone else in the house. User replies. This reminds me of a cousin of mine that's married to someone with the same name as his sister, and his wife looks so much like his mom it's appalling. It was an arranged marriage too. 2 strippers one night ripped my shirt up, wrote, slut, on my chest with lipstick, scratched me up, and one even bit me. I kind of liked it. User replies. That's just what happens when your friends tell them it's your birthday. User replies. I was there alone at 3 a.m. so this ain't it. More like they were bored. My ex-wife cheated on me after 8 years of being married. I was devastated. One night her best friend that she has known since childhood texted me, checking in on how I was doing. She ended up coming over to our house. We had wild sex throughout the entire night. Everything you could imagine happened with her that night. We both haven't spoke to each other since, and no one knows but us. She is still my ex-wife's best friend to this day. User replies. Friend saw an opportunity she'd obviously imagined before and fully leaned into it. Hiring prostitutes disguised as professional masseuses. They offer traditional massages and also Nuru sex massage. It's a guilty pleasure of mine to get touched inappropriately and then get sex right after. To be fair, they do a great job of actually massaging your body. User replies. Where do you find this sort of thing? User replies. Oh my god, that's disgusting. Where? Where do you find these massages? I went to Chicago for a distant family member's, 2 cousin once removed or something like that, wedding, but I screwed up the date so I got there 2 days early. I knew no one in Chicago, that I was aware of, and my side of the family was from New York. It was the bride that was from Chicago. I spent 2 days touring the city, the museums, etc. It's a very fun town. So my second early night there was a Thursday. I was so bored I called a client in New York who was always in Chicago because he did something involving the mercantile or whatever markets. As an aside, he worked for Bear Stearns and how that went about 5 years later. He told me to go to this area, I forget the name, and to this one place, ditto I forget the name. He said he always picked up someone when he went there. So I went to Bar X like he suggested, and it was a low-key upscale Irish-style bar, not unlike 1000 plus in New York City. So I had a drink, then another, and another. I didn't get Giuliani-level drunk and sloppy, but I was tipsy. I was 32 for reference, and 2 decent-looking older women, late 40s/early 50s, were there. I invited myself to sit with them, I told them my story, it was a good icebreaker, and we started talking. It became clear that they were from out of town, somewhere rural-ish but nearby area, and were in town to do some shopping and essentially whatever else presented itself. Of the 2, one was a little curvy and the other was rail-thin, and clearly a runner. Somehow I ended up with the runner, and some guy their own age then moved in on the other woman. We ended up back at my hotel. We fucked for hours. It was great. Older women can teach you a thing or two, and she said she preferred guys my age, she guessed late 20s, because our recovery time isn't measured in hours. Early the next morning as the runner lady was getting ready to leave there was a knock on the hotel room door. It was her friend. Apparently the other fellow had tapped out early, and she went back to her hotel. The runner lady had texted her and said she should come by. So the runner lady left, and I spent a few hours with her friend. To be 32 again. User replies. I was waiting for you to say you banged some girl who you later saw at the wedding and turned out to be a second cousin, lol. A few things. Went to a gay sauna in Amsterdam because I like saunas. I travel a lot for work and usually use the hotel health suite. This hotel didn't have one. I googled nearby saunas and found a gay one 2 streets away. Surely it's just a normal sauna where gay guys can hang out? No. It's a gay sauna where gay guys fuck the shit out of each other and do it out in the open. As I was walking around, absolutely stunned by what was going on, I entered a dark room, which was packed with guys. I kept feeling hands on me and then my towel got taken off. I felt hands on my dick and I just let it happen. One guy jerked me off while another rubbed my nipples and I had the biggest orgasm I've ever had up to that point. I was standing up but nearly collapsed, weak at the knees. That was my one and only gay experience, but now I can't get jerked off or blown unless I or the woman play with my nipples. I'm obsessed now. User replies. Well, if that ain't the definition of when in Rome. User replies. When in Rome, do gay stuff. User replies. Gotta admit. Pretty Roman. I was seeing a lot of kinky people, ethically, all out in the open. And, while tame compared to a lot of other things, one that I keep to myself is that with the partners who were into being paddled I'd have them bite down on my belt while I spanked them. I really enjoyed going to work wearing a belt that was pocked with teeth marks. It was subtle. There was zero chance anyone could guess what it was. User replies. Well, there was zero chance. Now we all know what to look for. I received a handjob from a very pretty 61-year-old woman, in a psych ward. User replies. That sounds illegal. Lost my virginity to a woman that was into violent rape fantasy. Hell of a start. User replies. I noped out of a similar fantasy. It was weird and she and I moved in the same circle so it would have been impossible to keep it not awkward, even though she said it would have been a one-time thing, which I didn't believe. Plus, it wouldn't even have been historically accurate, it was an antebellum slave master fantasy and I'm Asian. Edit, trying to explain the historical accuracy part. I think at least a good portion of the fetish/kink is the taboo aspect of it, and while slave master fetish holds plenty of the taboo juiciness, it lacks the extra oomph it would if it could accurately reflect the general state of things back then, or even the complete opposite. In what's called a gap anyway, not my kink, I wouldn't have been able to get into it, and it would have been weird afterward. User replies. You know that was the real deal breaker for me, wouldn't be historically accurate. Said this before on here but I was in bed on a Friday after a night out. Girl texts late asking if she can come over. She came over, we fucked etc., without a condom, in the night and then around noon morning she left. When she'd gone a friend came over asked me to help him out with some moving. I hadn't even showered but went with him. We got some food, had a few beers and just sort of stayed out. Ended up in the local club and this girl came up and asked if I was taking her home. Long story short, she went to suck my dick and I stopped her saying, rather sheepishly, that I'd had sex without a condom no more than 14 hours ago and I wouldn't recommend it. This turned her on massively and she immediately started gobbling it down like the tastiest hot dog, proclaiming that she wanted to taste the other girl that I'd fucked. I span her round and ended up with my tongue in her ass whilst she gave me a mega blowjob. Good times. User replies. Eating a stranger's ass after picking them up in a club is just next level wild. User replies. My homies won't share a drink with me at the bar but will gladly take a chick home and eat out her ass. At a festival, super high on a great combo, saw my high school swim coach. She was still super hot and very receptive to physical contact. We danced, grinded, and started making out. She asked where we were overnighting and offered to show her. As we walked towards our camp we found a lounge area to chill for a bit. We smoked a spliff and she busted out. I'd never dived down that rabbit hole before and I was slammed with 10 times gravity, head in space. She pulled a blanket over us and started blowing me and it felt so damn crazy good. After a bit she somehow got on top of me and rode me as I came back to reality. It was so damn surreal and I haven't been able to replicate it. We hung out for 2 more days and hit it like rabbits all weekend. At the end on the festival I asked her when we could connect next and she said, my husband probably wouldn't be okay with that. I was crushed. Oh, and she had a baby about 9 to 10 months after. I never asked questions or talked about it with her. As we come to the end of this video, I want to express my gratitude for your time and attention. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and want more of it, please don't forget to subscribe. Your support is what fuels this channel, and together, we can continue to grow and bring you even better content in the future. Thanks again and until next time.